my right-handed. Fine. Pitch up. He goes, I throw with my left-handed. And there was a
I
guy,
saw that one.
yeah, right? The guy in the audience. He's like, yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah, I
yeah,
guess it was. I saw him throwing that. I said, yeah, that's me trying to throw. So anyway, you
yeah,
get you get the right shoulder done. You're done. You're done.
yeah, yeah.
Right. So I'm clicking live. Oh, there's also a lag. So I'll be monitoring the comments on Instagram and on here. I forgot to tell you
Okay.
that. And occasionally we'll get somebody comment on here, and I'll poke it up on there. But as you know, we're just sitting here talking. How's the weather there, by the way?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's like it's actually kind of hot. It's it's always humid here, but it says it's 81 right now. So
It's been nothing but rain here, and it's
yeah, we get rain, but it's hot and humid.
yeah. So
Disgusting.
as everybody's logging in there on Instagram, thank you all for joining us. We appreciate it. I'm here with my good friend Alma. Well, good friend, my friend. How's that?
Yeah, we're good
Might be,
friends.
well, it might be too soon to say good friend,
All right, all right.
right? So Soul Studios, and we're gonna hear all. Yeah, that's right. My buddy Protect Your Digits is here. Greg's here, so we can get started. So, hey, Steve. So, what we're going to do is we're going to start tonight, and I'm going to give Alma a chance to introduce herself. Now, you guys know, those of you who've logged in before, you know what we're going to talk about. It's the maker origin stories. But in talking to a friend of mine, they said, you should really start with where they are now. So, I'm going to let Alma tell us just a brief. Hey, what are you doing now? What do you do a lot of different things. What do you consider yourself?
All right. My name is Alma, Pink Soul Studios. If you haven't caught that yet, I am a woodworker. Currently, I've kind of moved my, I guess, business and um, interest in doing backdrop and party decor type stuff. A lot of bigger builds and things. So away from more of what I was doing before, which was smaller, like hardwood decor type things. So now more plywood, more CNC. I've got a big Avid 5x8 CNC in my shop. Um, and yeah, that's probably mostly what I do. A lot of cabinet furniture type stuff too. So
All
that's
right.
kind of where I'm at right now.
So and I saw, I love the whole thing you did for the it looked like a party space is what it looked like.
Oh yeah, it was a bat mitzvah.
Okay, perfect. So
Yeah,
I love the
yeah.
way that looked. It looked amazing. So let's talk about this. Now you're doing a lot of different things, but where did you start? How did you get to where you are now? And really, how did you start woodworking?
I've always been a maker, and I've considered myself always some sort of artist maker pretty much my entire life. When I was really young, I wanted to be an artist, and I was lucky enough to have a mom. She was young, single parent that was really uh, she was all about it. She was, loved art as well. And so she really pushed me. So really anything that I wanted to do or create, um, she was great at pushing me into that and making sure that I was, able to do those things. My stepfather, he's also like when he came into the picture, same thing. They just were so great in helping me get to what my goals were as if it was going to art school or going, when I started woodworking, it was much a little bit later in life, but I'd always kind of made things and had somebody help me with the woodworking part. I at some point, um, I'd probably say like in my 20s, um, probably around when I bought my first house, I needed to like figure it out, like with how do I make stuff, I couldn't afford a lot, then when I after you buy a house, you're like house broke, right? Um, so my parents would, every once in a while they'd get me a tool, a used tool, they'd buy me a new tool, I'd buy, whenever I could, and just started making stuff. And a lot of it was refurbished. So back then I started a company where I did refurbished furniture. And it was like really kind of quirky, artsy type of furniture. So I learned a lot about, how to kind of cobble things together that way. Um, and did a few art shows in Detroit, that kind of thing with that. And then it just kind of grew from there. When I moved to Chicago, I didn't have the space to do that. So I kind of took my attention to a different hobby, which was small engines, vintage scooters, and motorcycles. So at one point, when we bought our house here, I had my garage was filled with that, and that was my hobby at the time. And let me tell you, it will drain your account. The vintage scooters and motorcycles. They were a lot of fun, but we had our son. He's 11 now, so it's been 11 years,
Wow.
and he'll be 12 this year. And I just at that point decided like I wanted to make more things for him. So I started to make smaller things out of wood. I made like a little train table, a little like um one of those like boards where he can do all the different like latches and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just like small, like a little table for him, and it just kind of grew from there. And then I made his bed and his big boy bed, and so over time, uh, I quickly moved all of the vintage scooters and motorcycles out because grease and sawdust do not mix,
No, not
and
very
just
well.
started, building up my, woodworking shop. Um, and so that's how we sort of got here.
Okay. So first, Steven said, so you were a picker, right?
Oh yeah.
So when you were doing the furniture stuff, is that stuff seriously? Was that stuff that you picked up from the side of the road? Did you buy that stuff?
Oh my God, no. This was the 90s and totally dating myself. This was, the mid 90s, and I was in my early 20s, and I had a friend that was big into picking. And we just like in Detroit and in the suburbs, people threw away at the time like
Yeah.
crazy stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, just like solid wood things, tables, chairs, like, I mean, just we at one point garbage picked a trailer. Like
Wow.
it was just they just put it out and we're like, we don't
Okay.
want it. And we're like, sweet. I hooked it up to I had a tiny pickup truck at the time, and I was like, this is even better, like I can pick whatever I want
Of course, so.
now. So yeah, and then I taught myself. This was, really kind of before YouTube.
Yeah.
So I watched a lot of PBS and Bob Villa, and I forget the guy's name, but he did a lot of gray hair and the beard, and he always wore like a blue button down shirt. But he did a lot of like the home tiling, and he'd renovate different
Yeah.
pieces and things like that. So I learned from those guys, at that time. And my mom used to make fun of me in a way, and she'd say, do you think you could do that? And my answer was always like, yeah, it can't be that hard. And so she'd always say like, oh my God, it can't be that hard. Like you're always, your middle name can't be that hard. And so yeah, like everything that I needed done in my house, I would find a friend. I had a lot of friends that were pretty savvy with that thing, and they were also all makers. And again, this was like a different time in
Yeah.
Detroit. So um we would just figure it out, like plumbing, sure, we can do that, that's easy, I saw this show on PBS and it was so easy the way he did it, like um so yeah, I was a big into picking.
There was Norm Abrams.
That's one of the guys, yeah. The
That's who
other
we were
guy
thinking
is
of.
not Norm, but Norm
Yeah.
is one of them, and there was another guy though, he had like the poofy slick back hair, and he did like, I'm gonna find out what his name is. I c-
So it's, can you imagine like some of these landfills and places that what they're full of and what they're in? So my dad's an antique
oh,
dealer,
awesome.
right? And he used to do so years ago, and how he got into it was actually picking up glass from places like that, and he loved the bottles. I took him. There's a place around here called Corning Glass Museum that is absolutely amazing. And I take my dad in there, and we're walking along, and they've got cases and cases of these cut glass and everything else. And he goes, "Oh, this is beautiful." And then he stops at this case, and he goes, "That's fake. That's a reproduction." No, that's a at the end of it, we get to the end and there's the list, and he got almost all of
Oh
them.
wow.
He knew that stuff, and he got all into it from
Oh
doing the
yeah.
picking and just learning. stuff decades and decades and decades ago. And I do love that it's all about how you built that stuff, and the people that you were friends with, what they knew. Like everybody knew something different to
Oh
help
yeah.
like teach someone
Yeah, yeah,
else.
yeah.
That's
It was
awesome.
great. It was great. Those were the days,
Yeah. So then you were in Detroit. Why did you move to
At the time it was
Chicago?
for work. Yeah, the company I was
Okay.
with brought me here. So started, over really. Because in Detroit I
Yeah,
had,
yeah.
I had a house, my family's there. So here I
Yeah.
kind of had to build that all up. Uh and I soon after I moved here, maybe like a year or so, I met my wife. Well, I met she's my girlfriend, and then we married at like a year.
The person who
Yeah,
was
and
going
then
to
a
become
year later
yeah.
we married, and then yeah, then we bought a house in the burbs. We lived in Chicago in the city, and we have a house in the burbs now, and it's great. We love it. Cute little Chicago style bungalow. It's perfect. So yeah.
And then you were Joe Ferrante did tile on OG2H, this old house, the old this
Yeah.
old house. And Evan said hi, and his family's in
Oh, cool.
Detroit as well. So okay, so now you come back. Obviously, you're working on the
Yeah,
motorcycles. Oh man, again, I do. We were talking about it before the show. I miss
it's fun.
riding. I still have dreams about it. Well, it's fun unless I wrecked my motorcycle into a
Oh,
brick wall. We were in a meeting the other day, and we start these meetings off, and they say, there's a question, and the question this time was, what is the one thing if you could go back in time and change for yourself? And mine was that at 2 o'clock in the morning, drunk off my ass, I would not have hopped onto a motorcycle. So it's really I've made it was the lowest point of my life. I wrecked my motorcycle. Thankfully, I was not hurt. I wrecked into a wall, so thankfully I didn't do anything to anyone else. But the day of our wedding, someone was one of our friends' fathers, a father. It wasn't connected to us anyway, but it impacted the wedding. And I said it was too much of an omen. I'll never get on a bike again. And it's been a hard thing to keep, but ooh, it's been a long time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. As you get older, I feel like, or as I get older, I feel like I ride less and less because I worry, you know,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
about my riding.
mm,
But yeah, I worry about that, especially in Chicago. It's really hard to ride here. So I mean, when I moved here, I had a, a, a lot of mostly vintage scooters and a couple of, I think I had like Hondas at the time. Um, but I probably had, I don't know, like 8 to 10 at one point, all vintage Vespas. One of them had a sidecar, and then I had a couple Honda like CB and CL 350s. Um, and at one point, I was just like, we were about to have our son, and so I
yeah.
sold it all and got my dream bike. I sold all my scooters and motorcycles to buy. I bought a 67 BMW R60/2, which I still have. And it was my dream bike. So I got down to one motorcycle and one
Oof.
vintage Vespa, which was my first Vespa, which it's a 67 Vespa Sprint. Um, and then a few years ago in I guess it's been more than a few years, 2018, I think it was. I bought the Euro with the sidecar that I took to Maker Camp a couple years ago,
Yeah.
which was a
Actually,
blast.
Evan just asked if you were going to bring that. Um,
I'm
and
thinking about it. We'll see.
yeah, I want to ride in it. I definitely want to
I
ride in the sidecar this year. And
it's
Stephen
fun.
Moore, I saw that. It looked like so much fun. I was actually there. Stephen Moore said we live and learn, and we certainly do.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's come back to this story because this is what I'm
let's do
really
it.
interested in. I oh my gosh, I hope you bring the motorcycle so we can all enjoy it. But you had to move the motorcycles out of the shop because you started getting all these tools. Now, a lot of times people start selling their stuff, right? How did you get more? How did you start doing more woodworking? You bought the house?
The house got us there to, um, realize that I needed, more tools. I had just a few that I had brought with me. And like I said, my dad would hand me down tools and things. And when we got this house, uh, it was one of those things where I think we all have that story of like my partner wanted this $3,000 crate and barrel bed, right? And I'm like, I can build that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Anna White has plans for that. Like, thank God for Anna White, like getting
Yeah,
us all started. And legit, like that's what it was. I was like, she has plans for that. Like, I could build that. So my dad and my mom came into town, and in a weekend we built this bed
that's
and,
amazing.
saved, I don't even know how much, 2,500 bucks or something, probably
Right.
more than that. Like, um, and I think that's what started it for me. Like that was like a big um kind of awakening of like, man, I miss like really making things. And so I at one point, like I got like a smaller table saw, and it just like I wanted to do more. And so when again, like when my son was born and we decided we were gonna get rid of all of the scooters, I had more room. And I had like a lift, I had everything, sold it all, and upgraded. I started looking on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist for that's how I got most of my tools at the
Yeah.
time. Like I got a saw stop for dirt cheap. It was brand new. This shop like decided that they didn't need I drove like 3 hours to get it. They decided they didn't need three saw stops in their shop. So it was a 3 horsepower
Oh wow.
PCS,
Yeah.
um, like a giant one, and I got it for like, I mean, I don't even want to tell you, it was so cheap. Brought it back, and it's my saw now, and it just grew from there. Like I
Yeah.
would try to pay attention to what people were using. I got on Instagram in 2017, and and that's where a lot of like the inspiration for getting more tools and getting more into it, finding that community on there
Yeah.
is what got me to like start to grow bigger in my shop, you know.
That's you know what, that's God, I think I got on around 2016, 2017, right around the
Yeah.
same time. Yeah, and it was interesting, like the people that you saw on there, and I guess it's the same thing now. I just don't see it as much, but you see people with new tools, new things. I think that's where I first saw the Festool Domino, and I was like, I got to get one of those. That was a
Yeah.
game changer for me. Um, and does it still amaze you when people say you built that? Yes, always, right?
Oh, yeah, always. For like, yeah. I mean, I feel like we all live for that, right?
So, well, hold on. So, let me ask you this, and anybody else chime in because I really want to know. My wife gets on me bad about this because I am terrible with saying to people when they say, "Oh, this is beautiful." What I say is, "Yeah, but see, I messed up right there, and that's where I made this mistake, and this is how I fixed it, so you can't really see it, but that's where I made the mistake." Do you do that too?
Yeah, yeah. It yeah, it kills my wife when I do that. She's like, "Stop. Like, what are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Well, it's like I could have done it, but it's for us, so it's not a big deal." Like especially when it's like for yourself when you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I totally messed up here, but, it's a quarter inch shorter than what I wanted, but like no one would have known that." Like
Why do we do that?
I don't
Mara
know, why
says,
do
"Yeah."
we do that?
So I've been analyzing myself, and for I think for me, I because I'm a lot like you. I'm very self-taught, right? I learned again from YouTube. I learned mainly from trying things and failing. And in some way, I don't want people to look at something and think that I'm perfect because I need you to understand that I made a mistake, but this is how I fixed it. And I feel like that for me tells a bigger story of my skill or experience than something that with no issues.
Yeah, I think that's growth though too, right? Like in the
Yeah,
beginning, we are constantly looking at it and pointing it out. I think as we all grow and really get into the craft, that that being able to fix what you've done wrong and still make it work where you haven't had to start all over,
right.
I feel like that's sometimes even bigger,
Yeah,
and it's great that I've seen on your channel you share it all the time, like when that is a mistake, like because I feel like that's a lot of what we do as we're growing, and as we're getting more into this craft, it's like that's really what we're doing here is fixing the mistakes that we might make, and it makes us better because the next time you're not going to make that mistake again. You're going to make a different
Okay.
mistake, and
Yeah.
you know,
Well, and I think
hopefully.
the other part of it is that I recognize for myself, I don't get upset when something gets screwed up. I don't like the first times I remember throwing something down and walking out and be like, I'm done.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So
Feel like burn
now,
it,
yeah,
burn it.
now you go, well, let me think and see how I can fix it. I think that's a much bigger thing.
Now we're like, we take the camera and we're like, okay, let me show you guys how I'm gonna fix this right now. Like, and that's great. Like,
Right.
because now we're teaching other people, that it's okay to make these mistakes.
Yeah. But that also brings us back to your experience picking and building furniture that someone else has done, and you got to take it and fix it up.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So
I mean, I love doing that. I still like doing it.
but that's a whole basis for your skills. So I'm sure that as a skill set builds in a lot. Oh, excuse me, builds in a lot to where you are now as well.
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, that's, taking somebody else's piece, even now today, like looking at a piece when you're at I mean, even as something as going to IKEA, right? And seeing
Yeah,
like that's how they put that together, huh? Like that's a whole new way of putting that together. And that's what was great about picking. I feel that's great about picking is especially if you find a piece that's old, that's solid wood, it has the dovetail drawers and the different, style of joinery that you might not have thought of. And the best ones are always the ones that were fixed already to
yeah,
see how they fixed it. Like my friends and I would be like, oh my God, like what did they do here? Like that's incredible. Like, you know, um,
I like
yeah,
that.
I think that probably has given me a lot of uh I don't know, I guess knowledge into what and how to build something and make it a little bit better, or even from starting from scratch and having those memories of like, oh yeah, that was that piece that I got, and I might
Yeah.
not get all the names right, but like remember that stuff.
No, but I mean, like you were saying about how you can go and look at something and look at how it's made. Some people, and I've discovered this, some people can look at something and go, it's put together in this way. And I'm sure that really plays in. If you have that type of experience, you can think through different ways to accomplish the same thing. And I think that's fantastic. Like, not
Yeah,
everybody has the experience to allow them to do that. Um,
yeah.
all right. So Mara said, and I love this statement because I always think it's really important. She said, learning via mistake is a real thing. That's something I always tell my students. I'm like, I want you to make mistakes because the mistake you make is going to teach you how to either fix it in the future, understand what not to do, or understand what to do if it goes wrong. So that's always, I always think it's important. That's why I like to
Yeah.
use this in my own stuff. All right. So coming back to you and your specific experience, I love hearing all these things. So you're in your house, you're starting to make stuff, you're starting to build up your tool inventory, right?
Yeah.
Where do we go from there into where you are now? And are you doing this full time?
um I'm a full-time mom. We
Okay.
homeschool our kid, so that's that. I guess I'm full-time, but I juggle that. I treat it more like a part-time thing. Um, but yeah.
I gotta put this comment up from Ryan. Anyone who restores anything has incredible tenacity.
Yeah.
True, especially dealing with all that. All right, so okay, so now coming back to my original question, you're at home, you're making this stuff, right? So how did you get to where you are now, where you're building a lot of these sets and a lot of these set type pieces?
Um, I I honestly like it's been what, maybe 3 years, 3 or 4 years. And some like balloon lady, I like to call them my balloon ladies, reached out and was like, hey, can you make this? And it was a giant 3D, they call them 3D arches, where they're like about 10 to 12 deep. And
Uh-huh.
it's like two big pieces, 7 to 8 feet tall. And she had like a big one that she wanted made. It was like kind of squarish. And then she had this really funky one that was like two kind of rectangles that kind of went in. They were crazy. Like I had never seen anything like that. And a couple of like just arches, like a backdrop where they like either fold or they just kind of put them up and it's, you know, an
Yeah.
arch, with like a ripple or whatever they want to call it. Um, and she was like, "Hey, I found you because you're in Chicago and you're a Chicago woodworker. And is this something that you can make? Because I need this." And again, I'm like, sure, yeah, of course, I can. It can't be that hard, right? And turns out they're not hard, but they can be sometimes because a lot of the ladies now that I work with, they want them to fit into their SUV or their minivan or things like that.
Or
So
keep a hatchback. Yeah.
that's part of like what I really love about doing these things is figuring out then like how do I make them look the way that they want, but then come apart and that they can reuse them over and over, right? And get their money's worth. Make them light enough so they can carry them and do them themselves. Um,
And make it
you
easy
know,
to and make it easy to put together.
yeah, exactly. Like so those are the like those challenges there um are what I love. And it kind of grew from there. I made all the crazy arches that she wanted and I posted about them and um and then she told somebody and I got another woman that was like, "I want marquee letters and can you do that?" "Sure, no problem." And started making marquee letters and another lady saw me and it all stemmed from Instagram. All of
Yep.
my business pretty much comes from either Instagram or word of mouth. I
Yeah.
don't advertise anywhere. I don't go like I did one Facebook marketplace like ad
And
for a mobile bar and you just get so many crazies. So I was like, never again."
yeah. Yeah.
And it keeps me busy. I have a couple women that are it's pretty solid with business with them. Like they are constantly trying to do new things and um with their backdrops. The big one that I recently did, that was for a space. I got introduced to the woman that owns that space
Okay. That's good.
through a balloon lady who I'd done some work for, and she was like, "Hey, you need things done? She can help you, whatever." And that lady at that space, she was like, "Hey, I've got this bat mitzvah, and they want this crazy stuff. They want like she wants like a store inside, like a store that you can
Yeah.
actually go in, like a boutique, and they want like a half like train car where they can, do like
Yeah.
and a Starbucks. Can we turn the bar into a Starbucks?" And I was like,
Jeez.
"Sure, yeah,
I
let's do
can
it.
try to
Let's,
do it.
and yeah, we mocked it up, and I use SketchUp for everything. So,
Oh, I got to learn how to
um,
use that.
oh
It's so,
man, I mean, it's got yeah. I mean, I people keep telling me I got to learn Fusion, but SketchUp for me right now is just super easy. So, but yeah, I use it for everything and show my clients before I even like
yeah.
take on a job. I make sure, so yeah, it keeps growing. I've done mobile bars for a liquor company that or spirits company, and that was word of mouth by another woodworker, Ross from RN is it RNC Woodworking. He put me on to this woman that needed some mobile bars, and they're at the Macy's downtown in Chicago, like the big
Okay.
store.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I've actually gotten people that have seen those bars there because I put my little logo on it, my little sticker with my name and website. And they're
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I saw this mobile bar you did at Macy's, and
Can you do one
can
for
you make
here?
me one?" Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it just
So
kind of
word
just
of mouth.
spiraled.
Yeah, word of mouth is always a good way to get the word out. I do. I'm gonna ask a question about CNCs and stuff. I just feel like I got to say this to everybody who's watching. If you see me scratching a lot, it's because I am scratching a lot. I at 2:30, 3 o'clock today had this full blown rash. I actually before this I went and got steroids and stuff. I don't know what happened to me, but I'm itchy all over. So if you see me itching, that's what I'm actually doing. I don't know what happened to me. Um, so when did you get the CNC? And I mean, first of all, a 5x8 CNC is freaking massive. When did you
Pretty big.
get that, and how did that start into playing into everything?
Um, I got into CNCs a few years ago. I started off like a lot of us with a what do you call them hobby.
Yeah, yeah,
CNC was terrible. And then
Do you remember what
sold
kind?
it. Yeah, it was the Inventables.
Yeah, that's what I had.
Yeah, yeah. And I got it to like work once, and then it just gave me more headache. But it's actually where, again, where I learned
Yeah,
about
yeah,
CNCs. And
right.
luckily I didn't give up. And then I bought an Iconic, which
Okay,
I think now they're a different X something, or anyways, I bought an Iconic, and it was a smaller, all enclosed CNC, which I loved that thing. And from then it was at Workbench Con one year, I think 2020, um, 2019 or 2020, I met the people from Advid CNC, and they approached me and said they really loved my content. And they loved my CNC stuff, and they're like, hey, maybe we can talk one day, like, I'd love to like pick your brain about CNC stuff. And I was like,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely, like, sure. Um, so I had a phone call with them shortly after, uh, and it was, they had asked me a question about, they wanted to like pick my brain about, um, like giving back to the community, because it was at that time COVID had hit, and we were
right,
all,
right,
Zoom calling or whatever, and they were like, what can we do to, like, what would you do, like, we want to do more. And it's one of the things that I really love about that company. They were like, we want to do more, we want to come up with things to kind of connect makers. um what can we do? And so I just started throwing out ideas, and one of them was the whole maker library things that we started kind of going after. Like, I think Shar might have been on that call, or another call after that.
right.
Um, and yeah, so we started talking. I thought it was just like, hey, we just want to talk to you, which I'm always all about. We wanted to pick your brain or whatever. So we came up with this whole maker library thing that we were gonna, and it didn't happen the way that we wanted it to happen, because prices then skyrocketed. We couldn't get the Baltic birch
Right.
that we were going to plan on making these things. And but that conversation and them, like, knowing that we could have a relationship, I think is what, both of us,
Hmm.
both Avid and myself, what we both realized there, right? Like, hey, we're getting along. I, I really had no idea why they wanted to even ask me this, and why they would want to talk to me, but I was excited to talk to them. And then shortly after that, it
Yeah,
was, what would be your dream CNC? Like, how can we help you? Because this idea was great. We do want to expand on it at some point, but we also, like, we want to expand as well, right? And we want to, like, give back to community, and all of that. Again, they're great to work with. And so it started there with 5x5 uh CNC at the time. And then last year I upgraded it to 8 feet, which is the great thing about an Avid, is that
oh,
you could add on or
yeah,
subtract as you grow or need space, whatever. So that's how I got it to a five by
yeah.
eight. But
It is nice.
yeah.
I've heard good things about them. I'm on the Onefinity team,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I've
yeah.
heard good things about the Airwoods as well. My friend Pete,
Yep.
Pete Squared has
Yep.
one and loves it. Uh, oh, that I think that's really important overall too, because what I heard you say is that you came to them, they brought a question to you, and you were able to give them not only an answer but help them design ways that this would be better and look good
Yeah.
to other people. And I think that when we're talking to brands, I think it's all too often it's a, hey, I would love to do this, can you do this, when what we really need to do is look at it and say, these are my ideas, right? How can we work
Yeah, for
together on
sure.
that, right? Even though
Yeah.
we
I
sound
mean, it's I think I've always taken the approach of, like, you're building a relationship with someone. So I'm not gonna I've had plenty of offers and sponsored, or brands that want to sponsor and send me things. But um in the beginning you're really green, and you're like, sure, I'll do it, I'm gonna give them a shout out. And back in 2016, 2017, right, we were all like, any little thing, and none of us knew, right? And um and those were all great. But once I started to realize what was happening, I just was like, wait, i'm not I'm not gonna do this anymore. Like, if I like something, I'll talk about it because I feel like for my audience, like they want to hear those things. But um,
Right.
for me, it's really important for me to get along with the brand, like that person that I'm going to be talking to and going over these
Right.
ideas with. And I want to know that they know who I am and the things that I work on and what I'm going to post and things, all of that. So, um,
It makes
yeah,
a
it
huge
does,
difference.
because you can, it's like you said, you can then say, like, I have this idea and, here's what I need from you, but here's also what I'm willing to give, you know, uh, in
Right.
exchange for that. And you don't have to have a big account to have these conversations with big companies. I, like, again, I didn't approach Avid. They approached me, and um, it was a surprise to me because I was even a smaller account at the time. But um, it is all in what you put out there. You know.
Well, and I want to take another thing here. It doesn't happen often enough, but for anybody else listening, going to things like Workbench Con, IWF, AWFS that I'm going to here soon, um, Texas Woodworking Festival. Brandon, my friend Brandon from Cross and Miter, they're doing the Maine event because it's going to be in Maine. Like going to these places and actually meeting the
Yep.
people behind it. It's amazing. First of all, I love meeting the people and I love hearing the stories. Um, Chris from Temple
Yeah.
Tools, like talking to him and learning, yeah, right, and learning how he started Temple Tools and why, and you get on with these people and you build a relationship with them, and that's really where it comes from, and getting to meet them in person. That's the problem with everything can be so
Yeah, for
impersonal.
sure. I mean, I feel like if you're going to work with a brand, you should want to buy their product and maybe even buy their product. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Like I would generally start there, but yeah, you
Yeah.
should want to buy their product. And, especially when it's somebody through the community that, like Chris, where he's building up this company, and it's like, yeah, these are great products. Like I would
Hmm.
totally buy these. Like awesome that he sent them to me, but like also like I want to buy this product too,
Right.
like I want to, I'm going to keep up with what you're coming out with next. And,
Yeah.
you know,
So many
yeah,
great things. So now you've got this 5x8 CNC. You're designing a lot of stuff. That's got to take up a lot of space in the shop, though.
it does. It's half, it is literally half of, I have a two-car garage.
That's a
It's what,
car.
19 by 19. So yeah, it's a car, um, on one side. I have an MFT table in front of it, and so that's where I do a lot of my work. I utilize the CNC as a workbench as
I
well.
was going to ask.
So
Yeah.
like, yeah, so like cutting big things, I will use that. Building stuff, I'll use it as long as I don't. I try to plan out. Do I need to make Do I need to make CNC cuts, or do I need to like? Is it going to be okay if I sit something on there? Like it
Yeah. Yeah.
does take a lot of planning when you have a tiny shop.
Yeah.
And underneath I have storage underneath that I keep a lot of things under as well. So um yeah, I mean, you make it work.
Well, so that brings me. So you've already said something, but that brings me to the point. So when I first did this, I started the lives because I was redoing my shop and I was talking about how I laid it out. So what are some small shop suggestions that you have that you're like this was the best thing I've done?
um I would say as much as you can on wheels, so you can wheel everything around. I think that's like kind of a given.
Yep.
um I don't honestly, like, for me, keeping everything in sustainers, because then I can just kind of stack everything and move it out of the way, and
Yep.
it's nicely tucked away, or get it out of my shop if I needed more room. So that's if I'm building something big, that's something that I sometimes do as well. Like I'll have to pull stuff out, um, and have it so that I can have room to build.
So for anybody who was curious about that, the sustainer is this thing that Festool Surf Prep has them. A lot of companies have them now, and they're
Oh yeah.
just right. It's got the top, so they stack on each other. Just anybody who was listening who was not quite sure what she meant by that. Those are really great designs, and I agree. They're nice to have. Although honestly, I have a couple of them, and I pull my stuff out so it's out in the open, and I have a better chance of reaching for it. But in a small shop, when you have to keep everything organized, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Anything that I'm grabbing for like a lot, like my track saw and drills and things, like they aren't in sustainers, but
Right.
anything else that I can keep in the sustainer that I'm, even if I'm reaching for it, my one of my benches, they're drawers that I pull out and it's a sustainer that has everything in it, and I that way if I
That
do
makes
have to
sense.
take it anywhere, I just pull the whole thing. Um and it for me it makes it just a lot easier.
You know, it's funny though. You say that, and my track saw is the only thing that, and my domino are the only things that are in sustainers.
Yeah, those are out for
So
me.
well, let's go on to the second part of
Mhm.
this. What is your? I'm going to go both
All
ways with
right.
this. What is your least favorite tool? What is your most favorite tool?
My li-
Let's go with most favorite. What is your most favorite tool?
my most favorite tool has to be my track saw. Like I use it so much and I feel like
Yeah,
it's so like you can do so many things with it. Like the 45s are always crisp and perfect. Um the fact that you take it, to the material is huge for me because pulling around huge sheets of plywood is just it's it's not fun for me. um
100%.
yeah, so like even I at one point I thought about getting rid of my table saw because I'm like I don't really use it as much now that I'm building a lot bigger things. And um for me that the table saw was always like I don't know, like I,
Yeah,
I can't throw a sheet of plywood on it, even though you can, but I can't physically, right? So um I thought about it, but I mean
and
I'm not going
especially
to,
in
but
your space,
what's up?
especially in your space,
Yeah, yeah.
that would be difficult.
It is really hard.
You've got to maneuver.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. So my first track saw, I had the
Mhm.
Makita, and I loved that thing. That was amazing, but it was terrible for 45s. So I bought it just for whatever when it sat on the
Uh-huh.
track, I had to actually shim it to get to a
Oh wow.
45. So I bought the TS75, the Festool TS75 specifically for that, and it was amazing for
Yeah.
those. So it's a much. Although now I also 2 years ago, one of the guys did a giveaway for a Milwaukee, and man, I love that the battery operated. Oh, that thing is a
Yeah, I heard those
beast.
are great. The Milwaukee one I heard it's
Uh,
really great. I
yeah,
just got the
um,
battery, the Festool, the TS55 battery, which I haven't
yeah.
used it yet, but I'm super excited about having a battery one.
Well, I can't wait to hear your review of it and hear what you think. All right, so now what's your least favorite tool? So, for reference, John Wicks and I were on last week, and one of the things we talked about, we both have the Incra box joint that we've both used like twice in however many years that we've
Yeah.
had it. I
My least favorite. Hmm. No, I tend to get rid of them when I don't really like them. Uh,
yeah, well,
yeah. Uh,
that,
I don't know that I really have a least favorite I mean,
all
yeah.
right,
I mean, I don't
that's
use my drill press anymore, really.
at
I
all.
haven't used it in years. It's in my basement. Like it's a small 12 inch, but I just never like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
ended up getting a couple years ago the Rockler uh like
Oh yeah,
mobile, I don't know what you would call it, portable
yeah,
portable. And
yeah.
that thing's great. Like that's all you need. Just you take it wherever.
I have I have the Milescraft one of those, and it was good at first because I started with the cheap one, and then I got the Milescraft one, and I liked it. But no matter how much, like I don't know, I just kept having weird issues with it, and I did the makers for St. Jude, and I won the Rockler one, and I still haven't put it together. I haven't taken it out of the box. I just haven't had time. I really want
Yeah,
to.
it's really nice.
Um, what is a tool that you would like to get? What's something you want?
Ooh, man. I tend to buy them when I want them. Um, I ooh, man, that's a good
And
question.
everyone else, you guys can answer too. If you
Yeah.
have an idea, feel free to answer. Mine, I want to try the Lamello. I've seen the Lamello with the that you can do the click in
Yep.
biscuits, and I have a couple things that I think would work really well with that system versus the dominoes that you put them in and you tighten it up. I have a couple things I think would work better with that
Yeah,
system.
the Lamella is great. I picked one up a few months back for that mobile bar at Macy's that I had to do for the that liquor company.
Yeah,
And mostly because the domino is great. I love it. But the fact that with the lamello you don't need to use clamps. So on a really
yeah,
weird, the bar that I built, they built two of them, and they were half like a half round in the front like a barrel, and then flat in the
yeah,
back. So like gluing that with clamps was would have been a mess,
yeah.
it had to glue this way, and then the round part had to come into the structure. um so using lamella, it literally was like that moment of like, yes, this is worth every penny, because just glue, clicking it all in, and then being like, all right, I'm done. It's perfect. It's exactly, how I planned it out. And I just wait for the glue to dry. Like, and like start finishing. Like it literally changed the way that I um even design things, like for some of the mobile bars and things
Yeah.
like that. Like it's changed a lot for me.
Um, I'm just getting a thunderstorm rolling
Oh
through.
no.
I really so one of the things I've been working on. I don't know if you've seen it or not. My tabnet, I call it. It's the table cabinet. The front door opens like a cabinet, and then you close the door, and you can lift the front, and it lifts up, and it's a
Yeah, yeah,
table.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
a
In your house.
yeah, and I make those, and I make plans for those, and I sell plans. What I want to do is I want to be able to flat pack that and ship it out. And I honestly think that the Lamello is the best way, looking at things out there that I can think of, that I would be able to put things together and send it to people and have them be able to just click, click, click.
Yeah,
Um, but I need to. I don't want to buy it without having tried it and figuring out for sure. That's the hard part. And like you were talking about earlier, you're figuring out what's the best way that someone can easily assemble this and take it apart if they need to, or do whatever. Like that's really what I was really thinking about that a lot when you're talking about it, because that to me is the most important thing when you're designing a lot of the stuff that you're
yeah,
making.
yeah. That's
Right? You got to think that through.
yeah, yeah. That's the number one for a lot of the things that I build. They'll send me photos and of like their inspo photos, and it's like you can tell it's made out of 3/4 inch MDF, and it's one piece, and they've like way over engineered
Yeah,
it, and it's like it doesn't
yeah,
have to be like that. Like, let's make it lighter because MDF's super heavy. I don't want to lug that
yeah, it
around,
is.
and um yeah, yeah, but having the lamello, having that, even the domino for lining up things on a backdrop, like it's super handy.
Yeah. So if you were to, if someone's coming to you and they said, I want to build this, I want to build something that needs to come apart easily. Um, and they're not looking at the Lamello, anything like that. What would be a suggestion you would give them, an easy way? And again, this is a super general question, so it's hard to, you know what I mean? I'm thinking more along the lines of the people
Mhm.
listening. What would be a tip for them if they're thinking about how I might make something that I can put in one place, take apart, and take somewhere else? What would be your chief suggestion for them?
insert nuts and bolts with like a wing nut or
Okay.
something. Uh, Hanger bolts are great. I use those a lot for some of these builds. They're
Oh, I
cheap
like that.
and you know a lot of the bolts with the insert. That way, they're not just screwing a screw right into wood, which eventually would give and
Yep.
loosen up. And and just being able to like keeping it quarter 20, I keep everything quarter 20 because then if they forget those bolts, I usually 3D print like a little knob
Yeah.
and so that it goes
Yeah.
with that particular arch or whatever it is. But even if they
Yeah.
lose it, like they can just go to the hardware store and I can tell them this is what you need to
Yeah.
buy and that, done. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably the cheapest way to, and you could use all that with knockdown furniture as well, just an insert
Yeah.
nut and some, you know, quarter 20 bolts.
Well, I really like the way that um, one of the pieces that I think was pinned, you folded up the ears for the Mickey Mouse. Oh, maybe it was the other one, but you put the plywood pieces in the back, and by sliding it
Yeah.
in down between the two, it links the two
Yeah. Yeah.
together. I
Yeah.
love that. I think
I actually
that's a
used
great way to do it.
dominoes for the ears because I needed them
Okay,
to,
perfect.
obviously line up in front because they were gonna the way that they painted it was like a big Mickey hat. So yeah, I used dominoes, and that way they always line up, and the holes weren't that big. And then in the back, that was just a couple
Right.
of nuts and insert nuts and some bolts, to keep them on there.
Perfect.
And the
Yeah.
sliding things in the back have kind of evolved from that because that was a lot of building like a little box and so that it could slide in. And now I just do um, what do you call it? It's like a French cleat, right? Like the 45s, they slide into each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
easy.
So then you're not building a bunch, but yeah, you start to learn like these little tricks and you see what other people are doing and you're like, I see what you did there, right? Like I'm gonna try that too. So yeah.
There- There's so many people doing so many great things. I love, speaking of which, actually, I love watching when you and Luke and everyone get together. You guys all have a great time.
Oh
It's
yeah.
always funny to see those moments, those times when you're all getting together.
Yeah, it's so great that we
Uh,
live close to each other.
yeah, close you guys are. Um, God,
Like 30 minutes,
oh,
20, 30 minutes from each other.
that's not bad at
We've
all.
got and it's funny is like I've met all those guys on Instagram. So like Luke,
Mhm.
Stu, Nick, like those guys were all Instagram people that we were like, oh hey, you don't live that far. And like Nick and Luke or Luke and Stu live like 10 minutes from each other. They're in the
That's,
same town. So it's like, yeah, so we hang out
that's
as much as we can.
that's nice. It's good
Yeah.
to have the opportunity to talk to people. So, thinking about yourself 5 years from now, what do you see for yourself 5 years from now?
Uh, I would love to have a bigger space. Whether that be a bigger space like garage space, but I think my goal wise would be I'd really love a warehouse space that can turn into maybe a maker type space where I could teach more and build bigger things um, and have more events there. And yeah, that's right now. That's kind of what I'm working at.
Have you thought about teaching?
Yeah, yeah. I've taught a couple times. I've taught at Rockler. I did a small kind of weekend at this bed and breakfast. They wanted to do a women's woodworking weekend and include like the bed and breakfast
Oh,
thing.
that's fun.
It was a lot of fun. And I taught last year. The reason why I wasn't at Maker Camp was I taught at Aeromont School, craft school in Tennessee. So I
Okay.
did a week there where I taught beginner woodworking. And
Very
yeah, it was a
cool.
lot of fun. That was one of the best experiences I think I've ever had. So I've never taught a
Yeah.
class that long. So to have to put together a curriculum and be there a week and have like work in another shop and like it was a whole thing. It
Yeah.
was it was it was amazing. Yeah.
Had you been there
I'd
beforehand?
never been there, never heard of it. They reached out to me, the guy that the director at the time, he was setting up for 2024. It was 2023. I was actually at Maker Camp, and
Okay.
like having to do my curriculum then at Maker Camp. I had
Uh,
actually Luke, I think, helped me and looked it over. Um, and that because that was a year it rained a lot. So we sat in the camp
yeah, I was
arena.
just, and I have a distinct memory of sitting next to Luke on the spoke sheaves as we were making the axe
Oh yeah.
handles, and just looking over. We're both soaking
Yeah.
wet. Just uh,
It was the best time. But yeah, and yeah, so they reached out to me and was like, "Hey, do you want to teach? We'll pay you, we'll put you up." It was just a whole experience. They feed you, you're eating like
that's amazing.
with everybody, with all the students, and there's all kinds of classes going on, all different, art classes type things going on. And the studio for woodworkers was beautiful. They had every tool. Um, there was a wood turning class going on as well. Uh, but yeah, I've never heard of it, never taken a class there. They
Yeah,
asked me to do it, and I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. Um, and I would do it again, in a heartbeat.
that's
Yeah.
cool. I was thinking how hard it would probably be to develop the curriculum, not knowing what's there and like the layout for me, especially knowing the layout of where everything is and how what we're teaching and how that's all coming
Yeah.
together. That
They
oh
were
my
great to
gosh.
work with. They
Well,
sent photos, anything I wanted. They
yeah,
gave us a list
yeah,
of what was there, and like, hey, what do you need? Like, can you send me a layout? Sure. Can you send me some photos? Sure. So that was like most of those schools are like that. Well, they'll send you, whatever you need to
right,
like make sure that and that's well before you come up with your curriculum as well. So it's not like, you're having to do it
yeah.
blindly.
We have one by us, one that just started actually. About a year and a half ago, Wendell Castle Workshop, which, if anybody's listening and wants to attend there, I have a discount code for Wendell Castle Workshop classes. You can get 15% off, which I
Oh,
love.
very cool.
Um, yeah, well, I wanted to try and help them, so I did some stuff. I need to make sure that I state this. Sometimes Instagram will cut off at an
Okay.
hour. So if you're on Instagram, if we get cut off next week, we're going to have Eric Gorgeous from A Craftsman's Legacy, who, speaking of another motorcycle guy, um, and it's weird because I remember watching him working on motorcycles on TV when I was in college.
Another Detroiter too.
For yeah, oh yeah. So I'm looking forward to talking to him as well. Um, so I mean, talk. Let's take one
Sure.
sidestep here. Just I know we talked briefly about this brand deal and everything else. You have a lot of pretty big brand deals,
Yeah.
right? How? I mean, are any of them? With the Avid, they reached out to you. Did you reach out to the other ones? Did they reach out to you?
No, I have my first my first big brand deal um was with Festool. Um and that was in 2020. They reached out to me and were like, "Hey, we like your stuff." Same thing, right? We like your stuff. Do you want
Yeah,
to work on this campaign? And like I had been such a fan girl,
yeah,
for 2 years previous that I was like, yeah, absolutely, and so that was the first big paid deal that I have where they weren't just like, hey, we're gonna send you a
yeah,
whatchamajig, that you can buy,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
um
Yep, I do.
so yeah. But again, like I think I don't I my deal with Carhartt, again, they reached out to me. I had been trying to get in with Carhartt, but I never knew who to contact. And so there were a couple people that were friends of Carhartt, which is their ambassador program.
Yeah,
And I had told a couple of them, like, hey, if they're ever asking for people, like, I would love to be in a Carhartt, friend of
yeah.
Carhartt, whatever. And then one day I got a phone call, I had an email and then like, hey, can I call you? Like, yeah. And that's where that started, like, um,
That's amazing.
yeah. So, and again, I'm pretty picky with those things, because I don't. It's work, especially nowadays. It's work, and so I'm not gonna
Right.
work
Yeah.
for a a brand that I'm not gonna, again, that I wouldn't buy from, and I wouldn't want
Right.
to be with. And so it is building that relationship, and it's all about that. And with Festool, I had courted that relationship
Yeah.
for years. It wasn't like I was just doing Festool content, and they were just like, oh, we're gonna give her a little snack, right? Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't that. I had built that up for
Yeah.
4 years to do I had found Festool kind of by chance because I was looking for a dustless way of working.
Yeah.
And this was again in 2017. And so that back then, like, I don't know if you remember, no one was using Festool, like not in the DIY level,
No.
right? Like, so you never saw it. And I just by
Right.
chance saw somebody that had a Festool that, it was a carpenter or something. And I was like, oh my God, why haven't I ever heard of these? These guys have been around for 90 years. Like, and I've never, or 95 years of the time, like never heard of them. Like, that's so bizarre. And I looked him up and was like, I'm gonna buy this sander, and I went all in. I'm gonna buy the sander. And I'm gonna buy the CT. I bought a CT MIDI, and I loved it. Like, I could
Yeah.
work. My son was a toddler at the time, and my shop at that time, because I still had the motorcycles. It was in my basement, and most of that was so that he could play in his little play area and I could work.
Yeah.
So going from a DeWalt
Oh God.
sander to that was like crazy, and I sent them, maybe you know this story or not, but I sent them a sticker. I'm gonna tell you guys a little secret here. Sent them my sticker because that was like a big thing again in like 2017.
Yeah.
Like,
Sticker shock.
everybody was like sticker crazy. And so I found, because the sander came with like a rebate, or I don't know what it was, but I found the address of headquarters. Like, holy shit, they're in Indianapolis, or just outside of Indianapolis, right?
Yeah.
So I sent them my sticker and a letter because, again, new mom, I was so emotional that I could actually work in my shop again, and I was like, this
Yeah.
is so great. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I love this tool. Like, thank you so much. I can't believe I just found you. And, thanks for making such a great product. Here's my sticker. And like mom approved, like whatever, right? It was so cheesy, but um I sent it to him and didn't think anything of it. I was just like, whatever, I at that time no one knew about brand deals and working
Right.
with whoever. And well, shortly after that, they used to do classes at headquarters. You could sign up and take a class and learn all about, whether you want to learn about their system, right? Like, if you
Uh-huh.
want to learn about all their tools at once, which was like a 2-day class, or you could take a class on how to build doors using the Festool system,
Oh
how
wow.
to use their routers. They had all different, a table. You could build a giant farm table.
That's cool.
Um, and it was like, a couple $100, and they pick you up from the hotel and take you to the Festool headquarters. So I did it. And I'll tell you, I walked in and uh, Minnie was at the door greeting everybody. She works for
Yeah.
Festool, and she's like, "Oh, you're Alma? We know you. We love you. Like, we all follow you now. Like, you sent us your sticker." And then Sedge comes out and he's like, oh my God, you're Alma. And then the social media guy comes out. They're like, we have your sticker in our conference room. Like, our
Oh
CEO told us to put the sticker up there and was like, this is where we're heading. Like, this is what we need to
yeah.
start going towards. Because again, they had never worked towards,
Yeah.
everything was professional, right? Like,
Yeah.
they didn't want a DIY market.
Right.
They had no interest in that, right? Like
Right.
Germany, like they're like, no, we don't need
Yeah.
that. And so it was a whole new thing.
That's
And
cool.
that's again like how I built that relationship with them. It grew from there. I met most of the people. I then got invited back to do, the Rubio Monocoat
Yeah.
Festival
Yeah.
events. I've done a few of those, um, and been really lucky enough to go um, to Belgium last year and do the like
That's amazing.
global Rubio
Yeah.
Festival event. It was absolutely amazing. um and so again, like, even with Rubio, that's how it started too. Like, I knew Festool, all the guys there knew me. And so then they were like, when Rubio wanted to do that event, they're like, Alma, she'd be great for this, you should invite her. And then I built a relationship with Rubio,
Yeah.
and now it goes from there. So
That's amazing. I love that.
yeah.
Such a, I mean, it's it's solid. There's so much to learn there, and things I wish I had learned before. Really, well, taking a step back, so I kept trying different sanders, and every sander that I used would bother my elbow, and my hand would go numb, and that's why I went to
Same.
festival. Yeah, and you went to the festival, and you're like, my God, this is completely different than anything I've ever used. And so, yeah, that's a great story, and wow, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah. Building
There's a
those
lot.
relationships, right?
So there's that other piece for everyone else out there. Listen to that. Build those relationships. That's where the brand deals are going to come from, and build the relationships within the community too. You have a great relationship with so many people, and I love seeing that. Um, I love watching your stuff all the time. It's always
Oh,
fun.
thanks.
There's a lot of stuff to pick from it, and I appreciate how much work you put into everything that you do. So
Oh, thanks. Thank you so much. Same with you. I love watching how much you teach. I'm always like, I see your stuff and I'm like, man, I need to like focus on that more. Like, but I get so in the moment when I'm doing something, where I can't look away to like grab my phone or my a camera to, to think about
it's
those
so
things.
hard. It's so hard. The number of things that I get done with, and I go, damn it, that would have been perfect. You know, oh well, it is what it is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'll do it again. I'll do it again tomorrow, or maybe I'll find a time.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to do is actually I want to go back in time and rebuild some stuff that I made a decade ago because I love what I made back then, and I'm like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to record this, and this I'm going to show off. This is going to be amazing, and I just gotta, I just have to find the time. There's never enough time.
Never enough time.
So, if you could tell all the good people listening, one last thing. What's one last thing? Vern shows up as we're getting ready to leave. What is one last thing that you would tell the good people out in internet land?
One last thing. Be kind to each other.
Oh, I
We're
like that.
all we're all in this, like whether it's something as small as in your community, like not even talking globally, right? Um, but if you're in that woodworking community, like be kind to each other. I love being in this community, but I also love when people reach out to me and ask questions. It
Yeah,
could be about anything, right? Like it doesn't have to just be about tools or woodworking. Sometimes somebody just wants to ask a question about whatever. Like they might have seen you do something, or sometimes people just need a chat, right? Like there's a lot going
yeah.
on. So I just feel like we just need to be kinder to each other, um and be there for one another. Yeah.
And I will say that I think that goes along with the woodworking community as well in terms of when somebody posts something and nobody on here is this person,
Right.
but nothing drives me bat crazier than someone who has to just immediately jump on a post that they see with a negative comment. Negative comments don't help anything.
No.
It irritates the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, it's
god.
not going to get you anywhere, like no one's going to believe that you even know what you're talking about. Like just stop,
Nope.
and
Nope.
again, like it falls back on, if you're doing this, if you're in the community and you're doing this and you eventually want to get sponsors and you eventually want to be that content creator, like be kind to people all the time. Everyone's watching you. You're literally putting you, everything that you think is important, you're putting it on the internet. Like your piece that you
Yeah.
just made that you love, you're putting it on there. So, sometimes even when we go back, like somebody throws a negative comment out there and you're like, man, I'm gonna roast them now. It's like, I don't know. Like I've done it. I just like whatever, just leave it up there. Like that's on them. I did my part, put it out there. If you have an honest, like actual question, I'll answer it. You want to know, I'm not going to gatekeep anything. Like ask me, Um, but yeah, like just remember, people are watching that. Like be kind to people. Have conversations, reach
Yep.
out.
Yep. Exactly. Evan even said, "Be kind. Be kind. Be
Yeah.
kind." Even to those people with with failing grades or low grades in some of the other classes besides woodshop, Evan.
Oh,
That's a
Evan.
different state. I am being kind. That's me being
Yeah.
kind. I kind of like you to make sure you got grades. I got to be his. I'm like his older brother slash extra paternal
Yeah.
instinct in the woodworking community. I think we all are for
Oh my
Evan.
God, that
Well,
kid.
listen, I know I love him. Uh, and actually, the funny story is that day after the rainstorm, I sat down with him, and he and I had a good hour conversation, just talking everything that night after we were all dried out. I'm starting to get more and more trolls now, mostly on YouTube. Yeah, YouTube and Facebook, I feel like, are the two worst troll places. And what I always get is when I respond to someone, it's oh, you're thin skinned. No, you're being an
Yeah,
ass.
it's like,
Like there's
yeah, it's terrible on those on YouTube. Like I'm not even on YouTube. I don't think I could do it. Maybe I am thin skinned, but like it's just not worth it for me right now. Like,
no, no. Well, I'd like to thank you so much for coming on. Everyone on Instagram, I'm going to end, and I always end. I always feel like I end awkwardly because I'm like, all right, we're going to go now. Bye. And I hang up. So thank Instagram. Thanks,
thank
guys.
you.
Everybody have a great night. And then we're going to end here on YouTube in just a second. And you and I will talk.